Hopefully, whether you find this funny or not, hopefully it moves you in some way. And I guess we'll just see. Anyway, enough flirtation, let's start. This is called My Whisper. A lion floated to the air. I could swear this was happening in slow motion. A lamb then took flight in a perfect arc in the opposite direction. And when the king of the jungle made its way back down to the earth, a bull hurtled off in pursuit of the lamb, like a perfectly synced clock. On it went like this, over and over again. This was a typical sight on the quad. During that first semester of college, Ashish and I would walk separately to the same morning behavioral psychology class. And on these mornings, there would be Ashish juggling Beanie Babies. While I would never admit it then, I recognized the lion as Rory, the lamb Yui, and the bull was Snort. As Ashish walked, on the back of his shoulder would be a deer. Yes, I knew its name too. It was Whisper. And Whisper would stare right into my soul daily. You see, I would always keep a safe distance behind Ashish. I kept these few yards away, not out of any fear of a juggling mishap, but out of the social suicide that would follow being accidentally affiliated with the juggler who had no friends. And a few yards back put me right in the deer's line of sight. Beans in a hacky sack are cool, but beans in an animal shape are not cool. Whisper seemed to whisper to me Socratically. And so it went like this at 7:30 in the morning every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But eventually I started to feel bad. I mean, in class, this was a guy who sat at his desk and arranged Star Wars figurines in some sort of pep rally around himself. Yoda was his cheer captain. So one day while he was juggling, I said, "Hey," and put my hand on his non-deer occupied shoulder. This was a mistake. All the animals hit the marble and brick road, and Ashish began screaming, loud, hysterical, feral. I apologized profusely and bent down to pick up his fallen soldiers. This was another mistake. I was shoved out of the way, not lightly either, as I found myself rolled onto the grass area. He picked up his toys himself and started repeating, Rory, Snort, Fleece, over and over, Rory, Snort, Fleece. I guess the lamb's name was not Yui. A number of morning classgoers began laughing at the scene. I heard them shout to me, "No means no," and consoled Ashish by informing, "There's plenty of cuter boys in the sea." This echoed off of the 4 buildings in the quad and eventually waned. Rory, Snort, Fleece got dimmer, and Ashish got smaller in the distance as he ran away. I was left with my own thoughts. I'm no expert, but our psych textbook would likely describe them as anger and embarrassment. Naturally, I made sure I had nothing to do with him for the rest of the semester, but as we approached finals, there was a study week. The first day was usually designated for hanging out at the beach, a misnomer that was in fact a large grass area in front of the library at our landlocked university. Since it was a Tuesday, I'd been making plans with friends for not if, but when we'd be going to PJ's. This local bar was just across the street and sat in the basement of my apartment building. PJ's had a $2.50 deal that netted you 3 tacos and 2 Coronas, so it made little sense to drink anywhere else on a Tuesday afternoon. Then in the distance, I saw Ashish. He was carrying a paper airplane, which I put in quotes because it was so large that it came up to his shoulders, needed 2 hands to be carried, and was made entirely out of sheet metal. As he walked through the beach, he drew more and more attention. I wasn't sure when I realized that he was coming towards me, but it must have clearly been too late. "You want to help me install this?" he asked me nonchalantly in front of nearly 1,000 underclassmen. "No, oh my God, no," I replied. "Why are you even asking me?" "Oh, because you're my friend," was his matter-of-fact response. He continued past me and settled on some lonely patch of turf. I headed off to PJ's. 8 beers, 12 tacos, and only $10 later, I fell out of my bar into a crisp, early December evening. The noisy lot of us were headed to a friend's place to cheer him up over a breakup, and of course, play Mario Kart at his house. In the distance, I saw a glowing white orb on the beach. As my eyes came into focus, slowly of course, I could see the outline of the paper airplane. The tip dug into the ground, and the rest hung in the air, as if the child of a 50-foot giant forgot to clean up after playtime. Even from this distance, I could make out the light blue college-ruled lines. It was 3-hole punched paper, 2 of the holes hid in the folds, and the other was visible on the left wing, even from this distance. It was fun, whimsical, and later that night I could see it from my bedroom window. The coronas had worn off, and it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. The Friday after Taco Tuesday was the big psychology final, which meant I finally opened the textbook for the first time on Thursday. Somewhere around 3 a.m. on Friday, I hit a chapter entirely about Ashish, the outbursts, the attention to detail, the need for repetitive action. He just made a little bit more sense. The next morning, he was out in the middle of the freshman quad with a George Foreman grill, serving pancakes. Everyone coming out would receive 2, and he staged an area where you could pour syrup. Assuming he was a Sodexo employee, most didn't thank him as they were handed free food. I knew it might go south, but I tried speaking to him again. What are you doing? Making pancakes. Right, but why? I observed that during finals week, people weren't eating breakfast, so I'm making them some. Yeah, but don't you have your own psych final coming up? They give me a lot of extra time, but I don't need it. It was simple for him, yet otherworldly for me. But that was that. I'd like to tell you that we became best friends, or that we learned to understand each other better, or that when the bullies and lions came, I protected him from it like one of his Star Wars idols. It was only a matter of time before something really bad happened to Ashish, and when it did, I didn't do anything, behaving as limp as Whisper on his shoulder. I'll never understand how Ashish saw the world, or how he willingly threw himself into his passions without a care for the judgment that would follow. But I learned that we aren't powerless, and we can do some good around us. We might never be heroes, but damn it, we can walk together, and we can make pancakes.